Following total atomic annihilation, the rebuilding of this great nation of ours may fall to you. That's why we here at Vault Boys WV will take you on an oral tour of the beautiful state of West Virginia. There's no other place to be better prepared for the impending fallout. Now we go live to our team of experts.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Vault Boys WV. If you didn't know, this is a weekly podcast bridging the gap between Fallout 76 and West Virginia through history, culture, and personal experiences. Some of it has references, and the rest is just our local take. From holler to highway, we've got you covered 6 ways to Sunday. I'm your resident Appalachian scribe, Dave Chaffins, and joining me, the return, the man from Arizona, not really, Mr. Tourism himself, Austin O'Connor. How you doing, Austin?
I became one with the desert in my travels.
Oh my! So you been on that peyote? What you been doing?
I adopted the pace of nature.
Oh my! Was that the line from the conference? Was that the pace of nature?
I am calm. I'm relaxed.
Oh.
Not really. I'm stressed as hell right now, so I'm not. I did not adopt the pace of nature. I got back and everything went wrong. So,
did you do a lot of learning though?
Yeah. There were a lot of cool little sessions and a lot of little information that other people, a lot of cool things other states are doing and other organizations are doing that now, I can try to incorporate with what I do. So it was useful. It was a lot of fun.
Well, that's good.
Got to see the Grand Canyon.
Oh. That's something.
It was a sight.
Another Fallout location you got in the seat.
It was one of those things that we got there and I was like blown away, but it was also so casual. Like you just drive right up and it's there. Like we were expecting it like to be this long journey once you got to the like park gate, and then you just take the curve and you just pull right off and it's right there, and it was cool. There was like a panther crossing, like a very large cat. I don't know what it would have been like to like watch out for them.
So it's sort of like specific signs for
and it was like a very
crossing.
Specifically drawn cat. Like it was definitely
it was not your local feral cat.
No, and it wasn't like a bobcat. It was like it looked like a full on like panther.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know what species of cat is native to the Grand Canyon. Probably several, but I wasn't really trying to figure out what it was, so it was getting dark, and yeah.
That's a little scary.
Yeah. But the Grand Canyon was very cool.
That's cool.
Like 9.8 out of 10, I would recommend.
9? Oh, what's the point 2?
It was a little too windy.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, points down.
Yeah.
It's a little negative score for that. That's fine. So how do you feel being back? Feel good?
It feels good. I missed rain. Like it was very. Everyone before I left was like, "Oh, it's gonna be 105, but it's a dry heat." Like, okay, yeah, it's a dry. Like my oven is also a dry heat, but I'm not gonna stand. Like it's hot. I don't want to feel that.
Right.
So coming back here, I mean, I would get up there some mornings and I'd go out on my balcony, and it was like already 99, 100 degrees at like 8 a.m. I go to work here. I leave at like. Probably like 7:50, and it's to this morning it was like 68 degrees.
Easy.
I missed that. There were some cool things though. I mean, it was cool to be. I'd never been out west. I'd never been in the desert, so that was nice. It was definitely different. I missed the mountains. As
some
you do.
Security there. Yeah,
as you do. There was a dust storm. Tornado advisories, blah blah blah.
Sharknado.
You don't really get that here. We get like severe thunderstorm warning, but like other than that, we're pretty much in a mild area.
We'll get some tornadoes out towards St. Albans sometimes,
which is the weirdest thing.
It's just weird. But I've never seen anything here other than we had the derecho that came in a few years ago, and we've got a lot of flooding in the lowlands, and so
that's true.
A lot of the poorer communities, just a lot of communities really flood constantly. It's like a big thing, and I've seen houses like ripped apart by waters, but my week's been fine. I've been back and forth. I've been mapping in Fayetteville, doing that.
Fayetteville.
I do the geography here, but I also do the geography as a job. And so I've been down Fayetteville, Oak Hill, which I've learned that Fayetteville and Oak Hill, it's like this like little rivalry that they have. And so like everybody in Oak Hill is kind of like old like residents, and everyone in Fayetteville is kind of like new residents.
Yeah.
So I've been sitting in Oak Hill a lot, and they're like, "Oh, those hippies down the street, and those Fayetteville people down there with their fancy houses." And then the Fayetteville people are like, "Oh man, those Oak Hill people, man, those guys are
old
hicks."
snobs.
Yeah.
No, yeah, there's just this it's like a weird line. Like you get past Oak Hill, and it's just like, boom, all right, everybody's young and everybody's a hippie. Like. Not really a hippie, but you know what I mean.
Well, it's like I went to the Bojangles across the way, and it was like a holistically different experience walking into that Bojangles, and everybody was wearing their Teva sandals.
Yeah,
like
you don't expect that in West Virginia.
Yeah.
You go to the one here, and it's a completely
whole
different world.
thing. Yeah.
No, Fayetteville's cool though. A little callback to a previous episode.
Yeah. I got to do some mapping around that. That was fun.
Huh?
I went to my favorite sandwich shop in West Virginia, Secret Sandwich Society, and I've got to go down there again tomorrow, and I'm gonna eat there again because it's so freaking delicious.
I haven't eaten there in years. I'm really jealous.
The only downfall to it is I do it on work time, and obviously when you're working, you cannot drink.
True.
So it's kind of tempting, but I mean,
sacrifices we make.
Sacrifices, but still the polk or just sandwich is fantastic.
Polk.
All right, Austin, let's get right into the news. All right, Austin, this week is a very big week because last week, while you were out in the desert, there was a panel in which a lot of our questions about Fallout 76 were answered. So we're going to kind of roll through a few bullet points from that and talk about them a little bit. How's that sound?
This is my first time hearing all this because, as you know, I was becoming one with the desert, so I disconnected.
You've been disconnected. Okay.
I'm just kidding. No,
you were out there in the
still glued to my phone. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah. Well, it's like I see anything. I have like the news notification on the Fallout 76 stuff, and it's like I see it. I know. I get it. Anyways, I'm going to let's start with special attributes. So for this game, and like normal games in the Fallout series, all of your special attributes start at 1. And that's like at level 1, they all are 1. So that's what we covered in the first episode talking about special. If you want to know more about that, go listen. Our first episode in New River Gorge Bridge. It was a fantastic episode in which I think we've improved a lot since then. But still.
Humble brag.
Each time you level up, you increase a special attribute. And each time you level up, you also get to pick a perk card, like we had talked about before. There are a ton of perk cards, but you can only have a limited number active based on your special stats. So one perk card could take up 2 strength stats, and then you could have 3 other perk cards for strength that take up 1 apiece. So it's like fractioned out, essentially. You can level up cards by combining duplicates of the card in question. And you can put up to 15 points in each special category, which is new for the series because most of the time they only go up to 10. Mm-hmm. Charisma, like we had kind of, I guess, thought about, Charisma focuses on benefits of group play and trading. It primarily allows you to share your perk cards with others to some degree. You can get perk card packs by leveling up. Each contains a grouping of perk cards, a digital stick of bubblegum, and a joke. Forgot I added that in there.
The joke, what was the one that they mentioned? It was like, my wife loves a man in uniform. His name is Roger or something like that.
Yeah, they can't. But the one thing that they clarified is they cannot be bought as a microtransaction, so you can't, like, they're not like a loot crate or a loot box or something
That's
like
good.
that.
There's too much of that right now, I think, in the world.
For the first 10 levels, you get a pack every time you level up, but every time after that you level up, it's for every 5 levels you get that perk pack. And I think that, and I may be wrong, but you have unlimited leveling. Obviously, there's a point where you stop getting special attributes, but it continues on, and your level increases, but that's something about that. So what do you think about the perk cards and how all that works?
It kind of confused me at first I mean, I think it's a cool idea just because I think there's a little more customization with it, and you can say, oh, I'm going to keep going with this card and keep one-upping this and combining that. So it's a cool system. I think also visually it was very like satisfying. Like I liked the design of them all.
I liked all the little animations.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. As I said, I like the bubble gum and the joke. I think that's
it reminds me of like baseball cards, and I think more specific to our generation, getting a trading pack of Pokemon cards.
Yes, it's sort of. I think that just like I said, visually, I think they've got the right idea because it makes it a little more fun. You're kind of more like you said, it's like a pack of cards. You're more excited to see what you're gonna get, and it's just it kind of adds to the experience.
So that's one of the things that I thought was interesting, whereas in previous games, when you pick a perk, that's your perk. You can't respec. And this one, other than your special points, you can respec everything. Like you can just like throw out all your perk cards that you have and say, I'm going to try this combination. And so you can kind of experiment with your characters more, which is what I was hoping, because I was worried that the beta, I would make some character that I hated or like experiment and try something, and I didn't want that progress to carry over because I was just trying it out. But now knowing that, it's like, well, I can just experiment with no repercussions to me or anyone else. Not that there would be repercussions to anybody else, but
no parents, no rules, right?
No parents, no rules. Yeah. All right, so let's they gave us a little bit more information on PvP, which is player versus player, and the cooperative experience of playing together online. So when you shoot another player randomly, like if you are a person and you shoot another player, you only do a small amount of damage to them. It's meant to be an annoyance. Like it's like if a mosquito bites you and you're like, ow, crap. That hurt. If the attacked player fights back, then it changes the state of the damage output, and both parties begin dealing that full damage to each other. You can slowly kill players that do not retaliate, but if you kill them, you get no reward and become a wanted murderer. When someone becomes a wanted murderer, a bounty is posted for all players on the server, and they appear on the map. The bounty is paid out of their cap stash, so it's out of their own money. So if they become a wanted murderer, they have to pay for the price. The penalty for death on any character is that you lose your junk, which is in Fallout 4, you collect junk that you are able to upgrade your weapons, upgrade your armor, and upgrade your base that you have. So it's like a pin, a fan, or a magnifying glass. It's random
Little
stuff that you would find in antique shops. You can respawn anywhere near you, or you can always respawn at Vault 76. If you want to respawn farther away, that actually will cost caps. You can also ignore players after they've killed you. A prompt appears after your death asking for this and will not allow them to be able to see you on the map. So the map is so big, they have like an area, like a generally like area that you could be in, and that's what they show you on the map. If you ignore them, they can't see that, and so it's like, if you like don't go to the exact location that they are, they're not going to find you. Let's see. You can utilize a pacifist flag, which allows your own bullets to not harm any players by mistake. So if you're like working with a group of, or you're like out there, you want to shoot a sloth or something, you shoot at that, and let's say somebody accidentally runs in front of you, it won't trigger that you've attacked them so that they can attack you back. And so I think they were talking about this on stage where they originally had some of their testers like trying to run in front of other people's bullets just so they could aggro them and then fire back. And there are different power curves for player versus everyone and player versus player. So the PvP player levels and stats are for the most part normalized, so that it's based on more play style versus the stats. But player versus everyone is more relative to the traditional Fallout advantages. So like if you're level 2, you're not going to do very well against a level 40 animal or beast or something like that. Ghoul.
Ghoul.
And if your camp gets destroyed, let's say you've made a camp that you really like, there's a blueprint system that lets you save your camp, even if it's destroyed by nukes, to make it easily rebuildable. So what do you think about these very important updates to PvP?
I think that they pretty much answered all of the major questions. They sort of, at least in my opinion, covered everything I wondered about. Which
it makes sense to me.
It's very reassuring. It makes me, I think, feel a lot better moving in to the beta, and the fact that it's not necessarily as much of a free for all as I think a lot of people anticipated it could be.
It seems like that they're trying to focus more on cooperation.
Yeah.
I like the wanted system because if you played, I used to play one of the few online games that I would play. It was the original Red Dead Redemption Online, and you would get the bounty system, and all I would do is get on there with my buddy, and we'd go like hunt down people that were wanted.
Yeah,
because it was just
it's fun. Like it kind of makes you think like it's gonna keep a lot of people from being a-holes on there. Like they're not gonna be as as annoying.
If they're paying it out, I mean, there's going to be ways that people are going to find a way around it.
Yeah,
like
always
with everything. But
it's going to keep some. I think it's going to make the game a little more fun, and that does add like, okay, you sure you want to do this? There are consequences, but again, some people might find it fun. It adds another element to the game. Oh, I need to survive now. All these other people are trying to kill me. Some people might want that challenge. I mean, I think that's cool. I was thinking just the fact that like you don't necessarily have to retaliate. So, I mean, if they kill you, like it's annoying, whatever. But then, hey, there's a bounty. That's when you can go get them back. Like,
and sometimes it's fun to be like in those games. It's sometimes fun to be wanted.
Yeah.
Like to be in that or infamous or whatever. I know in Watch Dogs there was a mode where if you were hunted by the AI cops as well as other players could pop into your session and like try to chase you or hack you or what. I forgot what the mechanic was for Watch Dogs, but essentially they were going after you in that mode, and it was fun to get chased by those people. So I'm glad that there's still that like after you've leveled up a bit and you get up there, maybe you want to like go wanted. Maybe
you kind of want to test how tough you are, like,
right?
Like, I mean, that's one of those things.
There's
like,
some adrenaline in that.
Yeah, you kind of putting all of your hard work to the test. Like, all right, I've gotten this far. Let's see what I can do. So that's cool. I think the respawn, I mean, so it's going to cost a little bit of caps to
do it far away, but you can do it for free up close.
At Vault 76 or up close. So that's, I think right now, I'm sure there will still be moving forward a few more things that they have not.
Tweak it.
So it's like, but if this is right now, I would be happy with this going into launch right now. So obviously there's going to be probably even better things come out of this, and they'll like you said, tweak some more. But I'm pretty satisfied with this, and I don't foresee a lot of people being upset with this.
Right. I was worried that essentially I would be walking along and somebody would have like, for example, a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
And I would just be minding my own business, and somebody would just like one-shot me, and I would be gone.
So that annoyance thing is
right. But then it adds a fun element where like, okay, I'm out doing this, like I'm going and looking for typewriters or something like that. And it's like, okay, I'm out here looking. And it's like, oh no, somebody shot at me. Let me go. I need to go hide. I need to go figure out what my options are here. If I can just like sneak away from them, which is probably what I'll do because any game I turn into a sneaking game.
Oh yeah. Stealth. It's the Splinter Cell in you. Like,
no, it's the Metal Gear.
The Metal Gear, true.
Metal Gear.
I was always a Tom Clancy guy. So.
Oh, well, Splinter Cell is great too, especially the what was that? Blacklist.
That was a good one.
Chaos Theory.
Yeah,
top one. So I've got a few more bullet points on some kind of random facts I've collected for the panel. I'll kind of go through them here. So character customization options are increased for this game. So there's more. They've kind of redesigned how they do character creation. Yeah. It's similar to Fallout 4, but they've added more options.
I liked the selfie. You can take
that's the other thing I have is you can take a selfie and you have a photo mode within a game, but at the beginning you can serve that can serve as your ID badge.
Yeah.
One of the other things I like is they said that you can change your appearance at any time during the game, so you're not like locked down to a particular role of anything or how you look, or maybe you mess up, maybe you want to tweak something. You can change your gender if you want to. It doesn't matter. They've added global voice chat that's proximity based, which is kind of what I talked about.
We spoke about that a little bit.
I thought that they were going to do something like that because they wouldn't have it over the full map. It would just be within the proximity to
I can't
others.
wait to just be walking through and just hear some like 11-year-old kid yelling at me and just start shooting at me.
My
Just out of nowhere.
Well, play Fortnite and you get that anyways.
Yeah, I'm used to it at this point.
So that is in real time, and that is determined by the amount of, the damage base, the ability to use that is determined by your perception points. Let's see.
R.I.P. to the old VATS, the just stop screen.
Yeah.
They've slowly transitioned us out of it.
I'm curious if I'll use it. I
used to use VATS always.
I use VATS all the time.
But it's like, is it really going to help you?
I mean,
now?
maybe if I'm sneaking along.
Yeah.
Like if like that, the first
yeah.
the first waning moments of that gunfight.
But it's like, if you're face to face, that's like, let me take like an extra 4 seconds to try to select where I'm going to shoot this person.
Hand. Yeah. We'll see.
I'm sure there'll be
tweaked.
There'll be a reason for it.
There are more tracks in Fallout 76 than any of the other games in the series.
Ooh.
And there are still radio stations, if you were curious, which I'm curious as to what those radio stations are and who mans the radio stations.
Right there with you.
Well,
That's music to my, no pun intended, this is cheesy. It's music to my ears, though, that there are more tracks and radio stations, because that was always one of my favorite things about Fallout is listening to what songs they chose. So that'll be fun.
Well, if they need a shock jockey, I will gladly volunteer one of us to be the Howard Stern of West Virginia. We're very controversial here. It's all very, very controversial. So let's see. The beta, as they kind of confirmed that the beta is meant to be a stress test on their game and their system and their servers that they have.
I'm sure it's going to crash the first day.
Well, so that's kind of what we were thinking once they announced that the beta was a little bit later. And let's see. The last bit is that Bethesda is committed to providing a modding experience via private servers. They're doing that, just not at launch. So I'm curious I'm curious to how that works, what their continuation of Creation Club will be, because a lot of those mods are preloaded into every update you get. So like Fallout 4 or Skyrim updates sometimes and it's like, why is there a 700 megabyte patch coming into the game? Well, that's those Creation Club assets. And so I'm curious as to, most of those are like cosmetic. And so I'm curious if that's how microtransactions will work. I'm not sure. That's speculation at this point. So what did you think about all that? That's the bullet points that I have.
Like I said, I'm very satisfied, and I would foresee that a lot of people are going to be happy with that. I mean, there's always going to be someone that's not overly happy with it, but I think they hit all the main questions that we had, at least I feel like.
Yeah. I think a lot of people had questions about how the online functionality with other players.
Like, how is this actually going to flow with these other people? And I think that the system they seem to have developed, I mean, that it seems like they've kind of hit any sort of loophole. Like they've addressed everything. I'm sure they've listened.
Right.
After the initial, they're like, so they're saying that what if this happens?
Well,
Let's maybe try to patch into that.
And that could be, but I don't necessarily think so, just because I think they were just trying to figure out how to best communicate this like new experience, and you're gonna be able to come out of the gate, hitting on some really high levels on some things, and some things are like you're just gonna miss if you've never done anything. If this is your first, this is Bethesda Studios it's not Bethesda as a publisher, but Bethesda Studios first online game. It's
a big jump.
It's like
it's
how do we talk about it? Yeah. And I think that the introduction at E3 plus the little it was actually very long. The no clip documentary and the panel, for me, I am fully answered, and I am going to watch those Vault Tech videos, but for the most part, I'm going to try to be on an information blackout for the most part. I'm not going to watch anybody go through it because there's like some things I want to experience.
Yeah.
But because I run a podcast, I don't think that I can actually be.
You don't want to see too much.
I don't want to see too much. And I want to talk about this stuff. So
yeah.
It's like part of me wants to be like, I want to be surprised when I first do that, just like everybody else. You know, I want to see what they've got. But
you're dying to know at the same time.
Yeah. I'm dying to know. And I also got to write stuff for this podcast to talk about. So.
We need content.
We need that I'll have one tall order of your content, please, sir.
Injected into my veins.
Yes, of course. All right, Austin.
Of course.
Austin. Oh, goodness. It's been a week, man. All right, let's move into our next topic. All right, Austin. So this week, we are having, in what I call our Monster series, we are having the second episode of the Monster series, even though this is the 7th episode of the Vault Boys West Virginia podcast. Mm-hmm. I will call this the second monster that we are covering, if my memory serves me correctly. And now I'm now remembering all the episodes, and I believe that I am correct.
We need some like ominous music right now.
No, that's
ominous music.
Dr. Who.
that was like
That was the Doctor Who, you know.
Okay, it's close enough.
You know.
It's close enough.
I'm a songstress. All right. So I've got a little account here. This is the account from the History Channel. I'm going to kind of paraphrase, read around.
Let's get into it.
All right. So Flatwoods. Flatwoods is a small town in the heart of West Virginia that was established in 1902. In 1952, 3 brothers, Ed, age 13, Freddie, age 12, and Tommy, age 10.
It's Ed, and Eddie. Not Ed, not Ed,
Freddie, and Tommy. You want
Ed, and Eddie. First, better.
Ed, and Eddie had been playing near their school. There were no schemes, though, I will say, from the account I see here. And there was no kid named Johnny with a plank.
Oh, plank's coming, though.
So anyways, they saw a bright light that was pulsating and was the color red, and it flashed across the sky and crashed in a nearby field. They were afraid and ran to grab their mother and tell their friends. After grabbing a few friends and their mother plus a local dog, they ran back to the field with the red light where the red light had landed. Leading the way was 17-year-old Gene Lemon, who was a member of the State National Guard. As they creeped towards the site, they saw something that made them fall back and shriek in terror.
Bum, bum, bum.
Standing before them was a 10-foot-tall Frankenstein-like monster with bright, glowing eyes, blood-red body, giant claws, and a green dress. They ran in terror as fast as they could. They later reported the story to local newspapers and collectively provided a sketch of the monster. The story made national news, first being picked up by radio and papers, and then eventually CBS. There are skeptics to this account, including local police and the U.S. Air Force. The Air Force had mounted an investigation and found that a meteor was reported to have been visible on that day and time in Baltimore, Maryland. The monster, as depicted, was also very similar to a regular barn owl. Today, the May brothers, or as we like to call them, Ed, and Eddie, at 70 years old, hold their account as God's honest truth. The town of Flatwoods also established a museum to the Flatwoods monster and commissioned 5 public chairs to be built at various locations in Braxton County in the shape and design of the Flatwoods monster. Austin,
Ed, and Eddie.
what's your experience with alien encounters?
How long we got?
Oh my!
No, I'm just kidding. So, Flatwoods monster. I think the first time I heard about it, I was in the 4th grade. I actually did a social studies project on the Mothman, so that's separate. But there was another person at the social studies fair, and they had this project about the Flatwoods monster. And I was like, you know, I was under the impression I was going to be the only 4th grader with a West Virginia cryptid.
Right, you were going to be the cool guy.
I was that kid. Well,
Right.
no. This kid came in with this Flatwoods monster, and I was a little mad about it. So
Okay, honestly, let's put it in perspective. Did he do a better job on the 4th grade history project than you?
no. I'll stand on that hill till the day I die.
All right.
But I got home, and I started looking into it a little bit because I was like, what is this thing? And I remember seeing like the sketches of it. And it was kind of terrifying. But the thing I still don't get, why the green dress? Like, everything else is really creepy, and then you're just wearing a green dress. Like, where did he get the green dress?
Well, the account that I read was different from other, like, write-ups of the account that have the color switch. So sometimes it was a red dress with green skin.
It's like it's like, is it blue and black or is it gold? Yeah.
And so I went by the actual, I described it by a particular collection of accounts that are representative in when you go to the Flatwoods Monster Museum. And I will try to say museum as best as I can, even though I always say museum. When you go there, they have like statues and action figures and things of the monster that they sell that they've been selling for like years and years and years. And so I went off of the depictions that I saw from the museum itself. So I'm curious. So the dress is more across all the stories. So I'm curious
though.
But apparently, in other accounts, it was floating. Like they couldn't see its legs, and it was like floating above its dress. So if you go and Google image search Flatwoods Monster, there's some where it's like it looks like a cartoon character with like a little floating dress.
I'm gonna pull this up again real quick. I just need this image again.
It's a weird looking thing.
To me, it almost looks like something you would see like on like an Egyptian like hieroglyphic, like some sort of like crazy wall full of just illustrations and
the way it's depicted in the original sketch, they have a picture of the mother and this Lemon fellow. What was his name? Gene Lemon, showing this their collective description of the monster. Which, if you look at a picture of a barnyard owl, the face is...
It's got the kind of the circle inside of the face.
Looks kind of like an onion, like a 2D onion almost.
Yeah, the onion on top. It's a very weird, almost like a raindrop design over top of its head. And the glowing red eyes, that's kind of a common theme with West Virginia monsters and
monsters. Yeah, they all have glowing red
eyes. That's
well, it's interesting because this actually, if I'm pretty sure it did it. I think it occurred before Mothman.
Yeah, so this was in the 50s. This was actually before.
This is in the 50s, and it was like one of the first like alien sightings to be written up about that had that like pandemonium behind it.
Yeah.
Like, where like National Enquirer was like putting pictures of the monster. It's like, oh, the aliens.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, something about, and I mean, Braxton County is not far from here.
It's like an hour.
Yeah. And if you look at the geography, I mean, it's, as the crow flies, I mean, it's not far from Point Pleasant, which is where the Mothman happened. So this area of the state seems to have a lot of weird stuff going on.
Every town, I think every town, the one quality, and it's not just Point Pleasant or Flatwoods, is every town has a story.
Yeah.
And there's a family dynamic that's built around their history and the stories that they have.
Right.
And so it becomes a part of their community, and it defines who is an quote unquote insider and outsider.
I mean, there even in Charleston here, there have been sightings of unexplainable flying objects, again with glowing red eyes and with huge
I know
wings.
somebody who told a group of acquaintances that I knew several months ago that he saw something. I also think that he's a little bit of a clown.
Not to be trusted.
Not to be excommunicated. No.
Excommunicado. But no, it's like, you see on Twitter, especially in the age of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all these social medias, I mean, people still today see these things, they claim. I think that we're just so desensitized to it now compared to the 50s and 60s, because then this was like you said, it's making its way to CBS. This was big news because no one sees this. Now it's so overplayed. It's like, you don't really believe anybody. So I think that maybe.
Well, I think that's more of a symptom of a postmodern era where in the 50s, like, you had and I wouldn't say very clear-cut enemies, but there were bigger things to be afraid of.
Yeah.
But after essentially World War II, it was a big fear of the unknown. The
What's
unknown of communism, of who do they have secret agents here in America? What is going on with that? What is the government planning? What are they?
A lot of paranoia in all aspects,
right? Because we were at the top of America was at the top of their game, and so it was like, what else do we have to fear? It's the unknown. Yeah. And so stories like that drew up huge national attention and really defined how how it was covered in films or how it was covered in a lot of different mediums.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of those like B sci-fi films and that took their plots straight from these like witness accounts like Flatwoods. And I think they recently did a documentary. It was like an Amazon-based thing on the Flatwoods Monster.
My thing with it is, and it's kind of similar with a lot of these like cryptid, creatures. Mothman aside, well, that's a whole other story. But these other monsters,
we're gonna like reference Mothman, and then it's gonna be like the ultimate. It's like when we get to that episode, we're
just teasing it.
It's like let's just set aside 4 hours and talk.
Some
Mothman.
Foreshadowing that there will be a lot of Mothman coming up eventually. But no, like these monsters are seen, and then it's like, okay, well, where did they go? No, here lately, I could be wrong, but you don't. Now it's just like a festival, and they have the chairs, and it's like a history. It's a big part of the history of the town, but you don't see it anymore. I don't really think that it was carried on very long that you saw this thing, but people claim they saw it. Well, like why don't we have more concrete evidence of it than just this sketch or this? This is like the doubter in me, even though I still very much believe in this stuff. Like right. I am a believer, but I also have this side of me that like wants to say, well, why is all we have this like sketch that has been misinterpreted into other sketches so many times? Like where is we need more concrete sighting evidence.
It's like, and with Mothman, with kind of these, I think that there are unexplained things. I am a believer in that. I think that across multiple cultures and communities all over the world, that there are unexplained things. Yeah. And there's even like common threads between all of them. We're going to talk about one of those called the Snarly Yow in a future episode that's common across Africa and out into the world. But
which, to that point, that also, on the other side, rather than me doubting, that makes you think, okay, so people in other countries are having these same experiences. Something's out there that is not normal.
Like Mothman has been, I think, seen in South America.
Yeah.
I think it was in Brazil.
I know there was one I read recently, like the Cornish Owl Man or something. There's like huge... just unexplainable things.
Well, side note that another name for the Flatwoods Monster is also Owlman.
Really?
Owlman, because it looks like a barnyard owl.
Yeah, like you said, the owl.
And so there's Mothman and Owlman. But when I think of Owlman, I think of Watchmen.
Yes, exactly. And that's
so I think about the guy in the cape flying around with his little ship.
This is like a very deep, like high thoughts with Austin moment right now. But when you think about how huge the universe is, and there's like the quote, and it's I don't know who said it. I've seen it online, so it has to be true.
Was this something you picked up in the desert?
This was on my peyote. No, I'm just kidding. This is something I saw this a few years ago, and I come back to it a lot. But it was along the lines of it was like there's two possibilities: either we are alone or we're not, and both are equally terrifying. When you think about that, I lean more toward, obviously, I don't think that we're alone. As much as there is out there, somewhere out there, there are unexplainable things that could find their way here.
There are statistics.
Who are we to say that that's something like the Flatwoods Monster, like that there wasn't something out there that made its way to Earth at a certain point in time And no one here knew what it was. And these other stories that we hear across the world were similar cases where something came here that wasn't originally here. I mean, it could have been originally here. You never know. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff on this planet that I don't think we've discovered yet. You know, it makes you think.
Megasloth. I mean,
a megasloth. I mean, they say we haven't even discovered most of the ocean still. So God only knows what's out there. So that makes me think, like you said, statistically, it's a big possibility that these things really happened.
I think that it can be the case. I think that there are statistics that essentially back up that there is other life in the universe. Yeah. To me, there are two options about how that life relates to us. Either A, which I think is more the case, it is very, very, very hard to travel in between solar systems and to actually like get to far away places. Yeah. You have to do it very intentionally, according to the laws of physics that we are familiar with.
So ironically enough, on the plane to Phoenix, I watched Interstellar for the first time. Have you watched Interstellar?
I've seen Interstellar, yes.
So that makes me think just the whole like black holes and when he... Spoiler alert, like at the end when he's kind of...
Are you spoiling a Christopher Nolan movie on this podcast? All right, folks, I'm throwing out a spoiler.
Earmuffs. Earmuffs. If you're not ready for this, earmuffs.
All right, I'll whistle when it's time.
But when he is basically falling through space and time, through like all of these dimensions and everything, and you know what I mean? Like when he's sending messages to Murph. And like it makes you think like, space is another thing that we don't know. What we know is so insignificant to what is actually out there and the possibilities. So who knows if millions and millions of miles away, there's not another civilization that has figured it out, and that there are other places that they can do this travel and they somehow end up here. Right. You know, I mean, it's infinite. There's literally just infinite space out there that someone could be.
And I think it's fun. I think it's fun to think about. For one, I really like the movies from the 50s, 60s, and 70s that are kind of that alien based. And even leading up into the 80s with a lot of Steven Spielberg's work with E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Love those movies. But even like The Day the Earth Stood Still. Yeah. Like I love that style. This like fantastical, weird, like what is in this, even like in like stupid stuff like Attack from Mars or Attack on Mars or whatever, that like Jack Nicholson movie where all the aliens like had giant brains and all this stuff.
Was that the one where when they played like Neil Diamond or something like that, like their head would explode?
Yeah, they played this like specific song. Yeah, and it was like the Mel Brooks version of like sci-fi films. Yeah. It was like the equivalent to Spaceballs.
Like Mars Attacks. Was that what it was called?
That's what it's called, Mars Attacks. Yeah.
Yeah, that was man.
Yeah, I love those style of movies, and so when Fallout specifically has done aliens in the past, a lot of that has been inspired by that like 50s and 60s version of aliens. And one of the very few connecting forces between the Fallout franchise and lore to Fallout 76 as we know it is from the Fallout 3 Mothership Zeta DLC. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, that was one of my favorite DLCs. Like I've played that through like 3 times.
So you can, I think there's a samurai guy that you meet, and they're all like picked up from times across the world.
That was my favorite thing, is like you're meeting all of these people from different times, like different, decades and different places in the world, and
and you're like banding together to defeat these aliens in this ship. And the aliens are like what you would expect aliens to be. They're like little green men with the big eyes and the like laser guns and like that classic mentality. But one of the audio logs from Mothership Zeta details the experience of a guy named Giles Wollstonecroft, which I totally butchered his name, I'm not sure. And he was the assistant chief executive officer of the Vault Tech Corporation. Excuse me, he was the assistant to the chief executive officer of the Vault Tech Corporation.
It's like Dwight Schrute, assistant to the regional manager.
Assistant to the regional manager. But he was detailing that he was picked up while he was doing a construction inspection for Vault 76. So he was on site as they were building it and then was abducted.
So there's definitely going to be, separate from what we're talking about, the Flatwoods Monster. Hopefully the aliens have a part at some point. That would be a good opportunity, I think, for them to do that. Something more. Maybe if it is DLC even, possibly.
You could see in the No Clip documentary, you could see a picture of their version of the Flatwoods Monster. And it looks like that it's a little bit different from how I think it's more diamond shaped. Yeah. And it kind of floats about and it kind of looks like it's like like a floating face on this like robot kind of body. You can Google it, I'm sure. Look it up in the documentary, but it's kind of interesting how they're designing that. So you have the Flatwoods Monster, you have this crashed space station as well. That how did a space station crash, and what came of that space station's crash in Fallout? So clearly you have at least one alien. So how did that very specific alien get there?
Are you thinking that the Flatwoods Monster is the alien? Or are you thinking what are you thinking about that?
So I'm thinking that the Flatwoods Monster is designed to look very from their designs, very technological, and is kind of purpley. So it seemed
definitely otherworldly.
If you look at the picture, it looks like an alien. Yeah. It doesn't look like something that's naturally occurring in nature.
It's not like a mutation.
It's either a government experiment, or it doesn't look like a mutation to me. It looks like an alien.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of what I like that. I like that that's where your head's at with it, because it does seem a lot different than just something that all of a sudden sprouted wings or 4 arms. I mean, it definitely looks.
So I think that there is. I theorize that there is some connection to Mothership Zeta.
Yeah, because I think there could be.
It has been there before. It has not left. It has always been up there.
Yeah.
So it has to still be there while Vault 76 is being opened. Yeah. Because Fallout 3 doesn't take place for another however many 200 years.
Yeah. So it's up there. I mean. And if the guy that was helping design it was, So maybe there'll be a little more Mothership Zeta eventually at this. I mean, that would be neat, I think.
I'm curious as to how it all ties together.
Yeah. You know that there's going to be something. Even if it's just little subtle references, there's going to be something related to it, I'm sure.
Well, Austin, I'm feeling like my curiosity is piqued when it comes to aliens. But with that being said, let's move in on our next segment. So, Austin, this week, we're doing one of our special segments. We don't have any more special segments. We just have this one, which gives me room to think of more special segments. But our current one that we're running is Musician of the Week. And this week, I'm going to throw this one over to Mr. Tourism himself to give us a little briefing on a musician that he particularly loves.
All right. So our Musician of the Week this week is Tyler Childers. Tyler was actually born and raised across the Big Sandy River in Lawrence County, Kentucky, but got his start playing shows in Huntington, West Virginia, for local festivals and at bars like the V Club and Black Sheep. So he is an Appalachian country Americana artist, but he often references West Virginia because he actually lived in Lewisburg for a while, which is where the Greenbrier Resort was that we previously mentioned in, I guess, 2 episodes ago. Yep. Mm-hmm. Spent some time there, spends a lot of time in Huntington. So I consider him a West Virginia artist.
I would say so.
Very deeply rooted in West Virginia.
I would say that he's very specific to Appalachia. Yeah. And I think that both the people of West Virginia and Kentucky take a lot of pride in him as being kind of one of our own that's broken that mainstream barrier a bit. And I know he records with
Sturgill Simpson
and Chris Stapleton.
See, I don't know how verified that is. I know they went they're from the same town, which is big. Right. I'm sure that they are connected, and I think they've worked together a little bit, probably. Right. but he's getting a lot bigger now. His breakout album, Purgatory, is out on all streaming services and iTunes, and then he just released a remastered version of his live album, Live on Red Barn. And then he also just recently, a few months ago, did an NPR Tiny Desk concert.
I've listened to that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, he he has a band. It's Tyler Childers and the Food Stamps, or a lot of times he plays just acoustically by himself. So the NPR, I think, was just him. But they tour the country. They're all over the place. I actually, this year, I've seen him 3 times this year. I saw him in Charlotte, actually on New Year's, so technically it was last year. But then I've seen him a couple times up here. He's getting a lot bigger, but he is definitely deeply rooted in Appalachia. There's a lot of Kentucky references, a lot of West Virginia references. And I know a few people in Huntington that know him. He's apparently a really great guy, so definitely check his music out. I don't think you'll regret it.
I wish I could play a segment here, but I don't feel like paying for those copyrights.
Just go check him out. He's all over the internet. You'll like it.
He's great. I've given him a listen. He is, and I normally don't like country acts. He's pretty good in my book.
And I don't even, it's funny because he's technically country, but I don't even consider him country.
He is more of an Americana sound than anything.
It's just like a raw Appalachian. It's not like Luke Bryan, like country girl shake, like not that type of country. It's authentic. This man was like born in the holler, lived this life.
It's not like our other West Virginian great, Brad Paisley.
Yeah, Brad Paisley's more mainstream country. Right. Tyler Childers is just raw, in your face country that.
More like Willie Nelson.
Yeah, I've never, and genuinely, I've not met someone, especially from Huntington, that has gone to his shows and has listened to him that doesn't like him. And a lot of these people don't like country, but they love Tyler Childers. And it's he kind of like spans across genres.
He writes his music.
Yeah, he writes all of his songs. I mean, he is very, very talented. I know a lot of people love country music. I personally am very particular about the country music I listen to, but I think that he is much more talented overall than a lot of country singers and musicians now because, like you said, he writes his music. He doesn't rely on other people to write his songs, and I think that is a huge, huge advantage for him opposed to a lot of other artists. So he has a lot of full band songs that features full band, much more produced. He's got a lot more just kind of broken down acoustic. So there's something for everybody. Yeah. And like I said, you'll hear a lot about West Virginia there. So definitely check it out.
Well, that's good. So Austin, I only have one announcement this week, and that's we did a recent collaboration with a YouTuber / radio DJ / voiceover actor, Atomic Wolf. So you can find him on YouTube. We recently produced an episode of the series Wasteland Zoology, where we cover the mega sloth. And so it's essentially a expanded version of the story that we told on episode 2 of Thomas Jefferson's sloth obsession. That's kind of been condensed into an 8-minute YouTube video. And so I've been looking for ways to create like smaller bite-sized portions of our content, and so I'm trying to do that through collaboration. So I've been out there banging on some doors, hollering in some windows, coming out there in my nightgown,
just getting it done,
being like, hey, let's work together, let's do some stuff. So if you are a Fallout content creator or want to collab with us, feel free to shoot me an email at vaultboyswv@gmail.com.
Yeah.
We're happy to work with anybody in the community. We're super open. If you need an Appalachian expert, I have a degree in that, so we can get rolling. If you need a photograph.
The words are hard. If you need a photographer, photographic expertise.
If you want a photogenic person,
not me,
you go to Austin. No, Austin's a model. He's a model man.
Aside from what you were saying, I mean, I guess partnership. I do have a quick little shout out I wanted to give.
Oh, I want to hear your shout out.
So, a good friend of mine, he's actually a streamer. He's been following us from the beginning. He's been very, very, very supportive, sharing our stuff. If you are on Twitch, he streams a lot of different games. His Twitch name is Extra Loopy. So it's XTRALOOPY. He has been listening every week to us and sharing, and I just wanted to give him a shout out. I thought that was nice of him, and I thought I'd give him a little plug there for his Twitch channel. He's been doing a lot of cool stuff, a lot of giveaways, a lot of, fan interaction. So definitely everybody give him a shout.
The only giveaway I've got right now is just my never-ending love for all of our listeners.
Same.
And the amount of corny jokes I can give.
So many.
There's a lot.
So many.
There are a lot. All right, so we didn't get any reader mail today, so for today, that's it. Don't forget to email us your questions at vaultboyswv@gmail.com. Check us out on social media at VaultBoysWV and tell your friends. Make sure to rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever app you got. Give us a rate, give us a review. Shout us out on Instagram. We had some of that this week. That was really cool, really awesome. Tell your friends. If you know people that are interested in Fallout, be like, hey, I know these people, they talk about Fallout, and they also talk about West Virginia, and they try their best to make it cool and chill. So I would recommend doing that. But for now, the vault door is closing. Stay safe. You ready to go? Feeling it? I'm feeling it.
I'm feeling pretty good. Are you